You know what we'll do? I'll make a soundbite for you to put in at the start. Be like, oh, like, I can't believe that's news.
What the fuck's going on right now?
I can't believe we've said that. Like, you put this in at the start, so then people listen on to the very end. Like,
here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack, here's the crack. Welcome back, talking shit, I'm drinking wine, like and subscribe. Here's the crack.
how's it going, people? Welcome back to another episode of the Here's the Crack podcast. Now, it's a special one. It's a special occasion. Boys, why is it a special occasion?
Number 100.
Number 1
Do like
0
market and Rashford celebration. And Ronaldo.
things you love to see.
Such vibes.
I was actually thinking about this on the way up the road. Like, it's really weird to think that we've done this 100 times. We've actually done it more than 100 times because there's been a few podcasts at the start we had to sack off.
No, there's not.
Yeah, there was.
Was there?
We definitely done one or two we had to sack
No.
off.
I think there was probably one.
There's
I'm
two.
pretty sure we recorded one at the very start.
Yeah.
And there was no audio or something.
No, we recorded one on the whole
Well, that's just
BLM movement. And then we realised that we were very uneducated about the whole thing, and we just ended up going into a rant about Leona Lewis.
Afraid of getting
And
slapped.
we were like, no.
Cancelled.
It's cancelled before we even began. But yeah, we're here now. Episode 100. How do you feel about this?
I don't know, it's mad like to think we've done so many. It doesn't really seem like. But then, like, there's people that haven't been doing the podcast so long. They've just been doing like 2 episodes a week or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's taken us a long time to get to 100.
Yeah, and then like you think of like COVID and all
All
like,
the
there
lockdowns,
was
yeah.
weeks where like we couldn't record and then we've done it online.
But we haven't went a great length of time without doing one. Like,
No.
What's the max? Like 3
I think
weeks maybe?
we've always...
Was
as-
it 3 weeks?
Yeah, I think as times went on, we've became more we plan it out more. I think that's one thing we've matured out a lot, is like less of like recording and spinning off in like a day, whereas now we're very, I would say we're more content focused than we were.
Yeah.
Like at the start we were just like, we're doing it for the crack, whereas now we're like, we need to get an episode out every week because we don't want to, there's actually people listening.
This wasn't a question, was it? How the podcast has changed over the years?
I don't know,
Should have been.
but I just wanted to get your thoughts on everything, because we're three different people all joining as one
Yeah.
to create such a beautiful thing.
Cesspool of
Just-
podcasts.
Yeah, just all of us in a tea tree, or a tea tree, a petri dish of podcasting.
Well, that's such a weird analogy.
Yeah, I know. Moving on. So.
What are we doing today, Ross?
As usual, if you haven't already, it's the 100th episode. So if you haven't subscribed, what the heck are you doing? Subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify.
Don't be waiting to 200.
We've got 102 reviews on
Do we?
Spotify now.
Well done.
5 stars.
That was big.
Well
when
done.
did you shout that out last week?
Like a couple of weeks ago. Look.
Nice.
So by the time this comes out, who knows? We could be try and get the 150. 150 is the next one.
150,000 reviews. Let's go.
On
lads.
Apple Music, we're on 35. So if you're listening on Apple Music,
I forgot that existed.
bit late, bit delayed.
A little applause.
If you're
in there.
listening on Apple Music, head out, give us a 5-star review. And
Yeah.
even you can do a wee actual written review on Apple Music. So like, do you know, say a few something. You
Say
might
something
read
nice.
it out.
do
Who
people
knows?
do people actually listen on anything that's not Spotify and Apple Music?
I think like Spotify is like 50% or more, and then Apple Music's like 30-40. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe.
Yeah, we've been.
Like,
yeah,
come on,
what are you doing?
100 episodes. Like, do us a favor.
I think it's always the same thing, and I'm pretty sure this isn't a question that was asked, by the way, before I get into this, and in case one of you decides to slap my wrists. I think it's crazy the fact that like 3 regular sort of dudes as such can just like start something
Are
and
you going to
build
get all
it.
soppy here?
No, I do think it's cool though. Like whenever people ask me about it, they're like, "Oh, what's it like?" and stuff. You're like, that's the first thing I would say is like, it's. We didn't get any piggybacks off anybody. We just kind of rocked up and did it,
Yeah.
and I think that's cool. No matter like,
We just
on the-
piggybacked each other like
yeah,
after the podcast.
Exactly.
Naked.
3 double piggies.
and I think
Miss
it's
those days.
it's strange whenever you look at it and you see like a lot of people would say, "Oh, what do you think of this person's podcast?" And they're all like obviously like comedians in Northern Ireland or like well-established podcasts in Northern Ireland, but you're like, we kind of didn't have that. We're not in that clique. I know we've had people on to like interview them and stuff, but I don't know. I just think it's cool when you actually look back at it. Like, if this doesn't become a bigger thing, you can always look back at it and say, here, we did that.
What a waste of time.
Anyway.
If you were to look back now over the 100 episodes, would you do anything differently? You know? If you were to start again, what would you do differently? You know?
I wish the setup was so much better at the start. Like.
No one would know now, but
Yeah.
like it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah, but
See-
podcasting wasn't as big of a thing. Like,
I think it's just like there was nobody really to ask questions. Though.
There still
Yeah.
isn't.
Yeah,
There
like
still
that's
isn't.
like that's the thing as well. It's like we've learnt it all ourselves, really.
Yeah.
Like there hasn't been anyone, like you were saying, there wasn't anyone we went to that was like, what do you need to do? And like as well as that, is like the money we've spent and stuff now
It's
is
crazy.
all came from the podcast. Like we
Yeah.
haven't really bought anything. Like we obviously had our 2 cameras, but like everything else, like we've upgraded our sound equipment, we've upgraded our mics, upgraded everything.
yeah, we were so naive
Through
though.
the-
Like,
Yeah.
at the start, I remember thinking like, oh, we're gonna do this on a laptop. Like, you couldn't live without a soundboard
No.
or anything now. Like.
No.
It's crazy. But even like you see podcasts starting now, and they're starting like with a proper like setup
Yeah.
with the cameras and the fucking.
Yeah.
It's some dough. Like
I just
to
think it's,
start up.
I think for me personally, I think it shows how much it's came on, because at the start we could have missed the week easily. We would have
Yeah.
been like, nah, let's just like, what, we're busy this week. Whereas now, even like if
I
we
don't
have,
remember our recording schedule at the start. What was
even
it?
it was
Just
every Sunday.
like.
Was it?
Yeah.
And what do you mean we missed? Wait,
Like we would
missed
have,
one?
you know, we would have, if say if one of us was doing something or whatever, we probably
Yeah.
would have been more inclined to be like, oh, we'll just skip a week and record the week after.
Yeah.
Whereas now
I
it's
don't
like,
think we ever really did though.
it's now part of my life. Like, it's part of my schedule now. It's just like, right, I need to fit in a night where I come up and record. Like next week, I'm not free on the Tuesday, and you're like,
You're a scumbag.
and I'm like, I need to get another night. I can't not record. Like. It's just not an
Did
option.
we record 2?
No, we always
We
record,
always recorded one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one on the Sunday, and then
That's
edit it
mad to
out for
think
the
too,
Thursday.
like.
Yeah,
That's mad.
That's another thing. Is like back then we were talking about stuff that had just happened in the news and stuff, and it was like current events. Whereas like now it's more like trying to botch it, but
botch it.
botch it
What's that?
like botch record.
Oh, batch. All right, okay. Well, I thought you
thought
said
you goes-
botch.
I think you said batch it.
Yeah,
No,
we're batch it crazy boys. Well, now I would say we put more effort into it. 100%, we put more effort into this than we did. Like, that's one thing. Like, if I could go back and say to us, just talk about what you want to talk about, like, and actually like discuss stuff, because I think there was a stage where it was less like scripted. We didn't plan it out as much, and it was like we
but
actually
never
enjoy.
planned it out at the
No,
start.
we-
like we literally just were like, what are we talking about? And then we would have had like a few things, but whenever we're like, proper,
Yeah.
this is how it's gonna go.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
it's like a proper business now.
Well,
It
if
is
only it was making money.
a non-profit. Let's just say that.
Organisation.
But here, during the week, I put up. We gotta tell you something. See, the lot of you who follow us on Instagram, you're a bunch of wusses, because I put up a question box. No one wants to answer questions. You get the same faces coming up every time. See, as soon as I put an anonymous question box up, everybody wants to know everything because they think anonymous. I actually went on the app there the other day. Now, I will say, if you have sent us a message, you are 100% anonymous. The only way I can find out who you are is if I pay £8.99 a month to this app, which I will 100% not be doing. So you're safe for now. But yeah, so throughout the past week, I've basically been putting up this anonymous question box on our Instagram. So apologies if you don't follow us on there, but if you don't, what are you doing? And I've basically said, like, what do you want to ask? And we'll answer it on the 100th episode. So this will probably be the least planned episode we've ever done in the past while.
Yeah.
But we're here for vibes.
Yeah.
Like, the vibes are flowing. So
Well, the whole
many
point
vibes.
of this episode was to give back to the listeners and answer
Give
the questions. You know what I mean? Get
Give-
involved.
Get involved. Also, Thomas, last week, I feel like we need to be a bit more lively on the podcast. And then I'm like vibes, and Thomas like, yeah, cool.
You just looked at me as if I was going to say something.
Because I expected that we like, I thought you'd have been practicing in the mirror this week.
No, I was waiting for you to actually start asking the questions.
Okay.
He's just so excited, lad.
Who?
Tommy, like,
I know.
let's just get into it. Like, he's just mad looking to go. Like,
Okay. In no particular order, right? I'm just going to start from the start, end at the end, right?
Bang bang, let's go. Let's
So the
get it.
first anonymous question comes from anonymous. I'm so funny.
Is this an anonymous question?
Yeah, and they basically say, I guarantee you won't answer this.
Oh.
You're wrong. We are. But what guest have you disliked the most?
Oh my god.
Don't give me that. They're all good BS.
I can't believe you've asked this.
So
I didn't know you actually answering this.
yes, we're going to answer it. Like, what you're allowed to say-
Dislike? Like, I don't really feel like there's anyone
what
I've disliked.
okay, then what podcast have you least right? So I'm going to be honest, right?
Yeah.
The one that I didn't dislike the guest, I just felt like very, when we were recording it, I was always on edge. Your fella, the comedian fella, Nathan Smith,
Oh fuck yeah.
because he just said whatever
Yeah.
came out of the
Tell
top
your
of
shit
his
on
head.
If
And
that
I
was live, you would have had a fucking
oh
heart
my
attack.
days. Now, sound lad,
Yeah.
brought all the mic equipment down, let us, we wouldn't have these mics if it wasn't for him, bringing them down.
Yeah.
So sound fella,
Yeah.
and I hope he's doing well. But at the same time,
You dislike him.
holy moly, that podcast! We
That
got
was
the
risky.
best. The best clip of our TikTok is thanks to him.
Yeah.
The appendix bursting while he was mid
Masturbation.
pleasuring. But the best clip came from that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
And
just-
that's the one you dislike the most. The one that's done the best. Like.
when I look back on it now, I sweat it the whole way through that profusely, because as soon as we hit record, he just started, and I was like, there's no curtailing this activity. Like he's just saying, and he said to us, he was like, I'm just going to warn you, I'm going to say whatever comes off the top of my head, and he did.
Yeah.
So I would say if I could go look at it and back now, and I could take a time machine and go back, I probably would skip that one, because
Not do it. But the content,
I
the
know.
clips, like,
It
but
was
my
good.
anxiety is just
that's ridiculous statement. That
through the roof.
Jesus Christ.
So what one did you dislike? Wait, you don't have to say it doesn't have to be a guess one.
I'm trying to think. That's
No,
the thing.
do you know what one I really, and not because I dislike the podcast or the person, Nico's.
Right?
Probably one of our best
What?
podcasts.
What?
But looking back, like in hindsight, I'm so disappointed we didn't do more research.
Yeah.
Like I think it was we just sort of went into that amateur hour. Like we knew some shit, like we know what he's doing around Belfast and stuff, but I just wish we were a bit more clued in about watches and stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like it was sort of wasted on us. Like,
yeah.
the likes of I know he's been in other podcasts and stuff, and like people are real into their watches and stuff, but the three of us aren't really. It's not really our scene, like.
Do you think
Well-
that that's what sets other people apart? We get people on and we ask them stuff and whatnot, but do you feel like, looking back on it now, when it comes to guests, we're like, we've never interviewed people before, so this is very new to us. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like we've worked for it. Yeah, it's not
I
like
was
we've worked for a TV show or anything where we know what we're doing. Though.
I was thinking
Yeah.
about what you said. Like what you said there is how I was thinking about the Max Players one.
Right, which will not be out by the time this
Yeah,
comes
but
out.
I just think like the questions, like so. I think I'm just starting to realize now, like after doing that one, is like we're actually interviewing people.
Yeah,
If that makes sense, like you should be like, it's just like I do feel like it's a skill, like asking the right questions, because I feel like we're like we'll get a guest on, be like, oh, like, and we'll know why we want to get them on beforehand and like what we're going to talk about, but then it's like getting what you want out of them.
you
If
can't.
that makes sense,
You
like.
cannot
Yeah.
predict what people are going to be like, and as well as that, there are some people who come on, and I guarantee you, just by watching 20 minutes of the episode, you could dictate who it is.
Yeah.
You could decipher who it is. There's people who come on who can lead the conversation, and then there's
Yeah.
other people who come on that want to be led.
Yeah. And you need
And
to
I-
be quite diverse in your
and
skills
yeah.
to be able to control like both types of
'Cause
people. Like.
I find like it's when you ask someone a question and you have in your head like, oh, like this is how it's gonna go, or this, like you want this, you're thinking you're gonna get this
Yeah.
really good answer, and then I think even like with the TikTok and stuff, you're like, oh, this could be a good clip, and they just give you like a 1-sentence answer or a 1-word answer, and you're like, fuck.
That's
the whole
Do
thing.
you know what I
Fucked.
mean? Like
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
like you need to sort of have the skills to be able to sort of like talk around
Yeah.
that topic. If
What
that
about
makes
the
sense,
time I
like.
asked Sean Casey about the whole cold water thing, and he thought we weren't on?
Oh no.
I was like, what do you think of cold water swimming? And he was like, I mean, yeah. And I was like, are you having a laugh, mate? And he was like, oh, are we still recording? And then he went back into like Sean Casey
You-
recording mode.
You had jumped up to fix the camera, hadn't you?
Yeah.
He thought you turned it off.
But it's really interesting because like I feel like we've done 100 episodes. You're allowed to dislike. You're not allowed. Well, dislikes it's a weird way of putting it, but you're allowed to look back and go, I didn't enjoy that as much as I enjoyed the rest of them. And it's
I'm trying to think. I was looking through the podcast there, like, and I'm just like, I don't even know. There's some of the solo ones I think are shit, like.
Yeah.
Honestly, they're shit, like.
If you
like, there's after we record podcasts, sometimes I'm just like, that was shit.
Yeah.
So have you ever recorded flip this? Have you ever recorded a podcast and you've like been like, I could have probably made more effort in that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
All the time. But like
the last one I done in here, I thought I was so terrible. Like.
Yeah.
But
there was no energy. Like.
That's what I was saying. Like, I think we need to be a bit more lively, and like, I know we're joking about it at the start, but like, I think that's probably our problem. Is like, I feel like there is people that know they have to have it sort of switched on. Like you know, when you see the likes of like when we had your boy Lee Hutchinson on, and we were saying he'd like done stuff with Logan Paul and like big massive YouTubers and stuff, and he's like they're just switching on. Like.
Yeah,
like he's like, they're not completely different people off camera, but on camera, like, and it's just like, I feel like we need to learn how to do that, like not be over the top, like fucking.
No, because we couldn't.
But at the same time, I do think there's times you're watching the podcast and I'm just like, if this was another podcast, I wouldn't watch this. So.
Yeah.
I feel like we shouldn't be saying this.
But at the same
just
time,
turn it off.
At the same time, your worst critic is yourself.
Yeah.
And I'm our worst. I would think I was messaging you the other day and was like, what was that audio like? Because I'm just expecting something to go wrong.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's because you want to actually give people something. You want people to enjoy it as much as we enjoy doing it. Like, we do enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do it if we didn't enjoy it. Like, flip me, we'd spend a good majority of our week talking about it. Like, even like the other night when we were meant to be out as just three mates, we're talking about it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you probably just, once you dive into this, you can't switch off.
I think we've got better at that though.
Yeah.
I think like at the when it used to be at the stage where like you went out on the night out and all you talked about was the podcast.
Yeah.
It's not like that. But like, I think you notice like I'd noticed the camera quality, but you notice the sound more, which is like, I couldn't really give a fuck. Like, I don't really notice that much of a difference. Like.
Yeah.
Whereas like with the actual content, because I do the clips, like there's podcasts where I'll be like, there's nothing in this, like.
Yeah.
And there's no point putting stuff out that. See, that's the thing as well. We've chatted about is like, we had your boy Aaron on, and we were like, he was like helping us out with the cameras, and we were like, asked him about like posting content, and like, if you don't think it's good, and he's like, if it's not good, you shouldn't be posting it. Like.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we need to start doing.
Yeah.
If it's
being
like
more
that
ruthless.
shit, that's it. Like.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, you just don't put it out. Whereas like you were saying at the start, we're posting every week. We have to post every week, but it's like, is that also a curse? Like?
Yeah, that's fair.
Do you know what I mean?
I think from the start we were always like, oh no, we want this to be raw. Like, that was what we want. Like, we just left everything in, nothing was cut out. But I think just after a while it was sort of like, right, we need to up our game here. Like,
it's personal taste. It's personal taste. Like, realistically, I cannot listen to a podcast where people are shuffling with a mic, and I know people who genuinely wouldn't be able to like listen to stuff when there's fizzling or like background noise. And that's fine. That's each to their own. And like, I think we need to understand that there's people out there who will literally not care if Thomas is like licking the mic. Do you know what I mean? Like, but there are people out there who would literally just go, I'm turning this off.
'Cause I remember I used to listen to like, you know, it was like Devils or something.
Yeah.
And it's now called Stratford Paddock.
Oh yeah.
But they used to do a podcast and I used to listen to it, and the audio was shocking. Like.
Yeah.
And it was like they were talking over each other, and I mean, this was a YouTube channel with like 100,000 of subscribers, like.
Yeah.
And then that's how I started getting on to Mark Goldbridge, like, because I was just like, this is the quality of this is shite, like.
Yeah.
Like, it's frustrating. Like, I think that's frustrating when there's like a big, like, it's a well-known channel.
Yeah.
Whereas like we've sort of just learnt as we've went along. Like.
That was a good first question.
If it was this, do you know if there was one podcast that would be to delete it, like, the fucking first one?
Absolutely.
It's a shittest
Oh my
thing
God.
ever.
That's
And
the
like,
one
that's
everyone
so
listens to.
annoying. Yeah. Like, when we used to get messages, people be like, oh, I'm going back, like during lockdown, they'd been like, I'm going back to the start, I'm going to listen to all of them, and you would have been like, oh fuck me.
Yeah, please.
We're going to get past you're not even going to get through the first episode and be like, well, this was a fucking
The first
bad idea.
episode though, I'd keep it for nostalgia. Like,
Fuck, if I would love
Like,
to delete it.
no,
Just even redo
if
it
you- no,
and fucking post it in. Like.
if you deleted it, I'd be raging.
That's so
Look how
trash,
far
like.
we've come.
I know, but think of all the listeners that just dropped off. Like.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Quick one. What's your favourite drink?
Fizzy drink
Pint
or
of-
alcoholic drink? Or
Alcoholic drink. Let's go for that.
Pint again, that's that.
Same.
whiskey and coke.
Nice.
I
Right.
love it.
Moving on. What guest turned you down when asked to come onto the pod? I can only think
You're
of one.
Ralph Lauren, yeah, you know.
Yeah.
He's the only one who said no, but he was so sound about
Sound,
it. He was
yeah.
basically just like, I don't think it's my type of thing.
Yeah.
And you're like, no, but like we've messaged so many people that just don't even
Reply.
like. There's people who read them
Yeah.
and don't reply. Like the likes we message Tommy Tiernan and all that,
Yeah.
and he just reads it on like fucking what do
Yeah,
you call him?
scene.
What do you
Declan.
call the Ireland captain?
Oh, yeah, Rory Best,
Best.
yeah.
Like he's replied and was like, oh,
Yeah.
not a good time. And then
I think he was
just,
I think he made the mistake of opening the message. And now it's like I message him and he just ignores me. I'm like, right, fair
But like
enough.
I think that's what people don't realize as well. Is like everyone's like, oh, get this person on and all. And you're
It's
like,
hard,
It's
man.
not that easy.
It's so hard.
and I understand it as well because like people are fucking busy. Like
Yeah.
they've
Yeah.
their own lives. Like, but it's like we would love to have these big fucking superstar guests on. but
Yeah.
it's
If,
not
if
as
someone
easy.
asked you like to go on a podcast, would you go on to it?
I would 100% go on.
Yeah.
We've
On
said
your, on your
before,
own?
Why? Well, like, it would
No, but no, I'm just saying, like,
if someone asked me to come on a podcast,
yeah, just you, like,
if they just wanted me on,
yeah.
oh, well, like if they wanted me on, I'd go on. Like.
Would you?
What do you mean?
I
as
don't
in-
think I would.
No,
I wouldn't go on my own. I wouldn't do it on my own.
I wouldn't either. Like. No chance.
I
Is
don't.
this like trying to be I'm a con type of thing?
No,
here?
no,
Like,
no,
just
fair-
saying,
fair
like,
play.
Would you
Like, if
feel
you-
Well, like,
confident? Would you feel
if there were-
confident in yourself going on?
Yeah.
Would you?
We've been doing this for 100. We've done
Oh,
100
no,
episodes. like.
no. Sorry.
But it's
Sorry.
I just don't get the feel right.
If someone asked me on a podcast, would I feel confident to do it? Yeah, 100%. But would I do it? No.
If they were
'Cause
looking
I-
at on as here's the crack,
Yeah, I
and
would.
they were like, oh, but we only want you on, it would be a bit like, well, what
Yeah.
that's a bit chompy. But like,
Yeah.
if it was just a random,
It depends what
Yeah.
it was. Like, if it's gonna get us absolute, like, if it's gonna get us more listeners, then yeah, I would probably
No,
take
I
the
would,
sacrifice and go on it. But at the same time, if it was like a random podcast and someone was like, "I want Ross from Here's the Crack," I'd be like, "No, well, it's Here's the Crack,
Yeah.
and there's 3 people, and Here's the Crack." So
Yeah. No, don't
No,
get
if
me
you-
wrong. Like, I do want all 3 of us, no bother. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
it's just, I don't know. It's just something about it. Just wouldn't sit right with me.
But the thing,
yeah,
that
like
frustra-
we've done it long enough where I think if someone slapped the microphone down at me by surprise and when we were recording a podcast, I'd be like, "Yes, wait, dead on." I probably
Yeah.
just want to know vaguely what the questions were, so I don't get. I'm
Yeah.
not good in the spot.
I think it'd be a good crack. I just think the thing that frustrates me with that is like, you see the people starting these podcasts or like whatever, and they'll be like, oh, like looking to come on your podcast, but you're like, would you ask us on yours? Like?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Like, there's been comedians and stuff starting podcasts that have messaged us being like, and like around the people being like, oh, can we come on? We've got this on coming on, and they've their own podcast, and you're like,
I've said this.
well,
to-
you wouldn't ask us on yours, like.
I've said this to you
We're
before.
definitely not
though.
going to ask now.
I've said this to you before though. Like whenever we started out, like not to be a knob here, but like, would you like when we were looking at people with 50k on TikTok, and you were like, they're not going to come on, so we didn't bother asking them.
Yeah.
It's
And
hard,
like-
like it's even hard to even think back to then and
Yeah.
remember then.
But
Just saying.
it's mad too, like, because I think from being in the game so long, you sort of realize
The game, like.
people with 10k sometimes think
Love
they're
it.
a lot more special than someone with the likes of 200k.
110%.
I
It is-
literally had this conversation with someone the other day.
It's so fucking
Who
true,
was-
like.
I was playing Rocket League Ran, and I was like talking about. I was like, "Do you remember your by Max plays?" Because he, you know, the way he would
Oh,
have
yeah,
been
yeah.
into FIFA, and he's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "We just had him on," and he's like, "Holy fuck!"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, what was he like?" He's like, "He's so sound," and I said them. I literally said what you just said. I was like, I find that it's like even your buddy off Love Island.
Matthew McNaughton.
Matthew
Yeah.
McNaughton, so sound, like,
Yeah.
and even Sinead Haig, like all
Yeah.
like
Oh my
such
God,
sound
yeah.
people. And like not saying there's been people
And
like-
Nico.
yeah,
Yeah.
Nico's
I know.
huge.
Honestly-
And like Nico actually stayed for like we were at the stage where we were nearly kicking him out.
Yeah.
Right, lads.
And so no, but sure he took us out and showed us
Yeah.
his fucking Jeep and all this.
And then
here,
invited
like.
us to that party.
Yeah, but like not to say that anyone who's came on's been a dick, like, but it's
Yeah.
just like.
Yeah.
But I will
you
say,
should-
like,
what you shouldn't have done that.
Well,
You don't know he like. As in like.
I was trying to catch your eye.
Nobody has came on and been a dick, like, but
Yeah.
No.
like, it's like people do. It's even stuff you hear as well. You're a bit like,
But would you say that's why they are where they are? Like, that's why they have, because they have done that their whole
100%.
career.
But even we've talked to like people in marketing agencies, and like they're saying like about like people doing brand deals, and like we were sort of like what is the sort of going rate, you know, because we don't have a fucking clue, like.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh well, it's just like some people just charge ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's, like it's so there is no like
Yeah.
fixed rate, if that makes sense. But forget what your question was now.
Anyway,
I'm not allowed to ask it. He's the boss. Ross show.
Oh, sorry. I
Ross
thought,
show.
I thought you were talking. I thought you were talking about the question that was on here.
That's the Ross
What were you going to
question.
ask?
No, I just asked. That was it.
Okay.
That was it.
So we'll do another one. Your favorite episode so far?
Remember Beyblade's one?
Yeah.
I don't know what it was that day.
Yeah.
Everything was just fucking slapping.
It
me.
was so funny. I don't
Yeah.
think I've laughed that hard. in
It was
so
just-
long.
I
Yeah.
think everyone just had their mind was going running
Yeah.
at 150%.
I couldn't stop laughing. It was so funny.
We were proper comedians that day. Like. I just wish every podcast would flow like that. Like. But like I do find like it can be like that whenever we're outside the podcast too, and you sort of wish, fuck.
I wish there
I
was
wish
a
there was a
mic
mic on
here.
us, like,
Yeah, it was
That's why
so
we
raw and
that's why we
authentic.
started it though.
Yeah.
That's the thing that does my head in. Is people always ask you, why did you start doing the podcast? And I'm honestly like, I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Like I don't like what was the motivation behind it, like when we first started out, because I don't really feel like I think people expect you to have this big deep like
Yeah.
we're really looking to just like give people a platform in Northern Ireland or
That's
like
a pile of crap.
some shit like that, and you're just like, well, we just decided to do it, like. And we've done too many now to fucking stop, like.
We're in too deep.
Going back to what you originally said there, why did we start the podcast? I am stumped by this one as well because it was so long ago. Whenever we decided to start this podcast, and people may be surprised by this, I did not know you at all. I think that's one of the biggest things, is that I had no clue who he was, and you just recruited him out of nowhere. You were like, oh, let's go talk about the podcast, like actually doing the podcast, and I'm going to bring my mate Shay along. And I was like, all right, I thought it was just going to be like a me and you thing. And
Did you actually?
yeah, man, I was like,
No, you didn't.
lad. I
But
didn't-
definitely mention it, like.
I didn't know who you were, right?
Yeah.
Were you raging? You're like, fuck's sake.
I wasn't raging. I was just
You
very.
definitely were.
No,
It sounds like you were.
No, I was just very like, we had discussed it for quite a while. We'd kept talking about it in uni, and we kept like sort of discussing it. We're like, we should do this. Like,
But I don't feel like-
we enjoy doing we enjoy listening to podcasts. So like, why? And we've got so much to chat about. And then I think it was the whole thing where it was like you said, there's just something missing in Northern Ireland where it's like you just talk about what's happening, like genuinely two normal dudes chatting away. I think that's what got me the first time, and then it was just like wanting to do something different, because as much as we go on about it, there is a sense over here where you just live life, like. You go to your job and that's it, like.
Yeah.
Life done.
It was so weird. Like whenever we did start off the
Yeah.
podcast, like I sort of thought, I was like, this guy's a bit of a dick, like.
Did
But
you?
it's so weird, like how things change, because now I think you're a massive dick.
That's so funny. Oh my God.
Did you think I was a dick at the start?
Only joking.
I never knew you thought that was going to be just me and you. Like.
No, well, you never
Do you
mentioned
want me to
it.
leave?
No, you never mentioned it.
That wasn't very sincere.
You never-
Episode 101, Shay's just
No,
gone.
you never mentioned it before. And then there was just one day where we were chatting about it, and then you were like, oh, like I was talking to this about my mate Shane, like he wants to get involved too, and I was like, all right, cool. I was obviously not going to be like no, but then you were like, oh, we'll go and chat
It's all
about
coming
it.
out now.
We went to Costa in Boucher Road and sat and chatted about it, and I was just like, you know what, like
What the fuck's he doing here?
I was like, but I didn't know you, and you didn't know me.
Yeah.
You knew of him, like.
I knew, yeah, but there's a difference between knowing off someone. I know off plenty of people would I'd like start a podcast with them about talking about like life. No.
Yeah.
Life.
Whereas now, like, flip me, we're inseparable, aren't we?
Fucking going to your wedding.
But yeah, literally,
You're fucking grooms. He's a
literally,
groomsman at your wedding.
you are a groomsman at my
And at the
wedding.
very start, you're like, you're a wanker.
And this
No.
is all coming out now. like?
No, I did
It
not.
is. I
no,
can't believe
I sort
this.
of feel like you
No.
still sort of think it like.
no, I never said any of that.
I think you did.
I said I was a bit shocked whenever
Mm.
you said, "Oh, my mate Shay's," because I didn't know Shay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At this stage, this was 4 or 5 years ago. I didn't know Shay, and I think that's what shows the most growth. Is that literally he will be beside me at my wedding.
It's mad though. Like, I don't feel like we talked about it that much. Like,
See,
I don't
I
think
feel like we did.
there wasn't. I don't think there was much of a time between
The one thing I remember
deciding
about
to do it and doing it. Is
Yeah,
what I'm saying.
the one thing I just remember about starting it is Tommy being like, "We just have to go. Like, we just have to start it. Like, we just have to do it. Like,
Yeah,
there's no like I think me and you were a bit like, fuck, no, when you get the cameras right, we need to figure out like where we're recording and shit like that.
Yeah.
Messing with the audio and stuff. And he was just like, fuck it, we just need to do it. Like, record it.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a good thing too, because I think we would have fucked about for months.
yeah,
Like.
we would
Whereas
have dicked around for
You sort of
months.
needed that at the same time to sort of get the fucking kick up the heels and
Yeah.
go. Like.
It was in my Gary V moment there.
Yeah.
Man, you gotta fucking do it, man. You just gotta fucking get out there, man.
You just gotta post,
Go to
post
garage sales.
content.
Gotta, man.
You gotta
fucking
post 20 videos a day.
It's all about content, you know.
Content.
repurpose.
But yeah,
How much are you posting?
but yeah, like, do you know what I mean? It
Double
was like whenever we started this, I'm not sure what exactly I expected, to be honest. I knew the direction we were going, but like, you know, it was easy. It's easy for you to look back at that and think there's nothing wrong with that, because you and him had known each other for years. Whereas you paired two people who did not know each other at all. Like, what did you think? Like, were you just like, this is normal?
Maybe I have a call in here, like fucking talent.
Just bringing people together.
Like, I am the cement.
It's just me. Like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Like, I had
Was there
no,
no part of you that was like, fuck this, like, this is a bad idea? Like?
Not really. Like. Not for trying everything once. Like.
yeah.
Well,
Once.
Like, I don't get me wrong though, I had met you once or twice, but like, to be fair, did we ever, lad, I don't even think we properly, I don't think we went out like to the pub or anything, like drinking or whatever, before we even done the podcast.
I'm trying to think the first time we did.
The first
We had
night,
some concerts and stuff together, didn't
the
we?
first night we went out was Brona's birthday. That was the first night we all went out.
Was that the first time?
Yeah, that was the first time.
First
And then the second time was whenever yous had moved into Eglantine,
Yeah.
and Thomas got me over to, that was second year Belfast Met, and Thomas got us over to like help with put the pool table up the stairs. And then not even like a week or two after that, we got together and was like, right, we're doing this podcast now.
Yeah. I remember we were at some other concert after that too, weren't we?
Ryan
In
McMullen.
Eglantine. Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I would say it was probably mid through using Eglantine where we started talking about the podcast a bit more seriously, and then you got him involved. And then like it sort of like, that was bleeding towards the end of the year, and then like you moved out pretty much, I think you moved out over summer into Fitzwilliam,
Yeah.
and then we started it, and then COVID hit.
No, there was an overlap.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
But yeah, here,
Feel like
vibes.
we're sidetracked here from these
Yeah.
questions.
But anyway, that's a bit of a brief background pre-podcast as to how the three of us came together. Have you guys ever had a fallout?
I think we got pissed off at each other.
We've
Actually proper fell out.
We've
Like.
definitely
Did
had
we?
we've definitely had snippy moments at each other, but we've never properly like fell out. Like we're not talking to each other. That's just weird.
I don't think
You
so.
have wee diva moments, like
Yeah, everybody
we one of
has.
these strutting.
Yeah,
Does that
Ross has his
Everybody
moments.
Does
Like,
everybody though?
yeah.
Ross has his wee moments.
Well, hold on here. Let's
You
be
can tell he's in bad form. He's
Let's-
not saying anything. He just fucking.
let's be self-reflective here.
Yeah. Do whatever you want. Yeah.
Whatever.
I don't know.
I was like you,
I'm sorry.
like earlier on, Ross came in. He's like, oh, I'm gonna close. He's like, can I close these blinds or something? And I was like, why? And I was like,
You have
I
no
just,
idea
I, just,
what-
I just want to close these blinds. He's like, and I was like, we've never touched them blinds, like. And he's like, why are you looking to close them? He's like, no, it's alright, okay.
No, because in my head,
That's
I
okay then.
didn't want, because we have the new light, and I didn't want people looking in and thinking we were shooting something for OnlyFans or something. So
Why not?
Yeah, well, here, that's fine.
Create a bit of interest.
No, we've never had a fallout. We've definitely had. We have.
I
our
don't
moments.
even think we'll have really though.
Not yet.
No, not
Wait
yet.
till the money starts
We'll not
coming
be-
in.
We'll not be falling out.
That'll be your eyes then.
We've definitely, like, you don't really fall out with people. Like,
No.
I
Like,
don't-
you never get a night.
You
of that,
never-
right? Like,
whereas-
I would love to see you
Yeah.
proper fucked off. Like
Shay has
Like
never.
I've seen you
in
when
the-
you're drunk getting fucked off at things,
Yeah.
but like not like sober. Like I've never seen you proper be like, fuck, it's damn my head on.
Nothing really phases you.
No. Why?
Yeah.
You're so chill, man.
What's
So
the
chill.
point?
Whereas you have wee diva moments. No, I wouldn't say diva moments. You just are stubborn sometimes, like, and just give like no context to why you're annoyed at something. You just go, I don't want that. And you're
And
like,
he
why?
just
And
goes-
he's like, I just don't.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
If you just do it, stop talking about it. Just then it turns out to be rubbish, and then Tom's like, "We should have redone that." And you're like, "Okay, yeah." But here, it's all good crack. I accept. We
bitches,
all
like.
accept each other for who we are.
Nobody's perfect.
Just me.
Do you listen to the Hard Listen podcast?
Oh, that's Gideon Gaz podcast.
Personally, no. I don't think I don't. I've seen clips of it though.
Yeah,
I've
clips.
seen clips on TikTok.
I watched a bit of the first episode when it came out, just to see the.
I
crack on.
actually see they're talking to some PT guy from TikTok who had an event at Ulster University,
I've seen
but
that,
they've cancelled it because of some, like, he was accused of being like misogynistic or something.
Yeah, toxic masculinity and all that shit. I find that's a bit extreme. Like,
So that might
Who
be.
I'd
is
love to know more about that, because to me
Well,
it seems a bit.
You will know more if you listen to the podcast.
I wonder when they talk about it. I've seen his TikToks. He comes up on TikTok a lot though, so he must be doing well.
Here's a juicy one here. Look. What's one thing that you would change about each other if you had a chance?
Where do we start?
Thomas just whips out a list.
I'm trying to think.
I seen this.
I know what I'd change about you, like.
What?
I actually give a fuck, like.
I do.
I know,
Just
but
don't show
like, that's what I mean. Like. It's like sometimes you're like, "Shit, come on, like, give us something back." Like.
Feedback, like.
Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
like, I don't really feel like that's an annoying thing, because
No.
like you do a lot in terms of the editing and stuff. I think it'd be a bit fucked off if like you didn't do anything. It would be like, but like, I think because you put the effort in other ways, if that makes sense. Like.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes
So-
like, you'll be asking you something, you'll be like, oh, "What do you think?" And you're like,
There's
"Yeah,
another
whatever."
question.
And I'm like, "Fuck."
There's
man.
another question that's 3 after this, which is what's one thing you admire about each other. So I would say it's funny because I'd thought about this, because whenever this question
This
came up,
is
that's
such
just
a cute question.
one thing you would change about each other. My first response is for Shay. It would probably be like, just like, actually, there's sometimes I feel like you're so carefree about things to the point where I'm like, all right, like, give me a bit more. But then that's also the thing I actually really admire about you, is because I'm quite uptight about things. You have, this is getting really deep and really cutesy, but like,
Shit starts
like
crying.
I actually did say this to Lucinda the other day.
Oh, no.
You have a way about you which actually, like when you go into a room, you get that calm feeling off you. Does that make sense? Where I actually feel a bit less at ease, less uptight.
Like
I
a
feel more at
Yankee
ease.
candle then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Yankee candle. Stop feeling about that. Yeah, like a Yankee candle. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Here, nice, bro.
Can't wait.
What about you, Bonzo?
What do you mean? What about me?
What's one thing you would change and one thing that you admire about your
Well,
co-host?
I basically said what you said about Shay.
What's one thing you admire about Shay?
Just copied your answer.
He's hard working. Like.
It's just all hate.
He probably
All
does.
great.
He does the most work out of all of us. Like.
Fair.
He does. Like. And that's just it. Like.
Keeping the ship flowing. The backbone of the system.
And the
Love it.
silent partner, like.
Yeah.
Just put the head down and get the
And
work
you don't
done.
complain. Like there's been times where like you've been
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this podcast needs to go out," like, and he has like fucking one night to do it, and he does it. Like. And he would like, whereas there would be people that just be like, "What the fuck?" Like.
Yeah.
Mm.
Do you know what I mean?
You go, girl.
Just fucking
You're
perfect.
just
like.
class. Like. Fair play. What would you change about Ross?
God.
I'd say like the obvious answer is fucking that he's so like has to be organised, but I think if that wasn't a thing, we'd be fucked like, at the same time like. You know?
So my greatest failure is my greatest strength.
Sometimes I get a thrill on a Wednesday night whenever Ross has sent the thing in and he's texting. He's like, "Well, how's the voice? What's going on?" Sometimes they don't text back for 2 hours just for a laugh.
I know you do that. I know you do that.
Shay hasn't even started. It's like
just
11 o'clock.
There has been times like where you've texted me at 9 o'clock and I haven't started like, and I've told you, yes, I know that. That last one, the last one in here, you goes to me, "How's the audio?" "Yeah, it's pretty good like." It's alright.
And then I noticed
I hadn't even fucking put the audio on the computer yet.
there
like.
was one night you sent me a picture and you were like, "Yeah, well, on my way through it now," and you sent me a photo and it was literally just like the first clip where you clearly just dragged and dropped it into your editor, and I was like, I can see the timeline, Shay, like I know you haven't done it, but I was like, I'm not going to say anything because at least I know.
Yeah,
It's
It's
a
always
start.
the same answer. Like.
I love the pressure. Like.
Yeah,
Pressure.
yeah. Fair. One thing I'd change about you, I feel like it's bad saying I'd change. Like I wouldn't want you to change anything. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm not. If you're an absolute dick, I wouldn't be friends with you.
You're perfect the way you are.
I would say sometimes you're overly stubborn
Like
to the
what?
point where like you're very like you can't really work with you. Like. There's sometimes where like there's no reason for you to like put up a fuss or put up a fight, but you do.
What do you mean?
Like you're very quick to just like it's always when we're like coming up with ideas, it's always like I feel like if I get it past you, that's it. It's going to be done. Where like you're quite critical at times, and you don't mind saying how you feel. And I also think that's also a good thing, because I would say one thing since I've become and I think I've chatted to you about this before, like since I've become friendly with you, I would say I've become more confident in like saying my opinions on things.
Yeah.
So I would say like you've taught me a lot in terms of that, whereas like there's some times where like you'll say something and you're just really sharp, and I'm a bit like, right, you could have switched on your brain there for 2 seconds and thought about what you were gonna say before opening your mouth.
Yeah.
And I feel like you would say that about yourself as well sometimes. You'd be like, oh, I wish I would have.
It's like sometimes when I'm drinking I say shit and I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when you're with groups of people and you sort of say something and you're like, the next day I'm always like, fuck.
Yeah. But then sometimes it's like, I think though sometimes I've become quite like, I know I can be quite like overly critical of myself, so then whenever you're critical of me, I'm a bit like, oh, I take it to heart. Whereas I feel like there's sometimes like I've definitely, it's been a skill that I've had to learn with working with you, is just like thick-skinned. Like you're not saying it because you're being a dick, you're just saying it because you're like, you want things to improve, which is also good quality. So well done.
Thanks.
I hate the way he touches the mic so much.
Doesn't listen. That was a nice bonding session. What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done?
I don't really do anything embarrassing.
I would say one of the embarrassing things you've done is go into that shop and say like, oh, where are you at tonight? You'd be like, oh, a few house parties, lad.
I thought it was fucking embarrassing.
But that wasn't embarrassing because they didn't actually know who
I'd
you
say
were.
probably what I done a couple of weeks ago, like,
What?
when I went out to the Dirty Onion.
Oh.
Or the Thirsty Goat.
Pull your mic closer to
The
you.
Thirsty Goat.
Yeah.
That was one of them things you think that this is such a good idea because I'm steaming.
I
Like.
can't believe what happened that night. Man. Actually,
So explain
I
that.
was
100th episode, you need to explain.
I was actually considering going for the rope there. Swear to fuck.
We'll have to get the boys back on.
Oh no.
101.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
They'll not come back on now. Like.
No,
I
the
wouldn't even
devil.
want to
fucked it,
message
like.
them, I swear to God, I'm so embarrassed.
If anybody's seen
Basically-
Thomas out that night and wants to piece together a few missing pieces of the puzzle, that'd be nice. Huh?
It was like a Thursday night, and me and Brona were like, oh, we'll go out for dinner and go out for a few drinks type of thing. Went out for dinner, like had a pint of Guinness with dinner, and like she had a bottle of wine, and like we shared a bottle of wine or whatever. Then we're like, oh, we'll go to the Thirsty Goat. Went to the Thirsty Goat, and like we're just drinking away, like nothing major, like didn't think I was drinking that much, and then it got absolutely blocked and like blacked out. I mean, at like 11:30, 12 o'clock, like.
Yeah.
But like basically, 2 degrees play Thursday night every week in Thirsty Goat.
And
I was sitting drinking away, and you know it's late enough because I think they come on at like 10:30, 10 o'clock, and we'd been there, I'd say, from like 8 or 9. Like. And then anyway, saucing away, and then like was talking to Matty. He came up, like bumped into him. He's like, "Oh well, I was cracking," and then they went up and was saying, "Is it Jordan? Isn't it Jordy?"
Yeah.
Like saying to them. And then they started playing and all, and like I don't remember this, but I was looking at my phone the next day, and I was like fucking videoing everything. Like I was videoing them playing and all.
You're not one to take videos in there.
No,
Oh,
you're
no,
not.
I don't know what I was thinking. I thought I was a fucking videographer or something. Like I swear to fuck.
You
like.
sent in a video into our group chat, and like now, if you're listening to this podcast right now and you're thinking, oh, if all he was doing was filming, sure, that's not a bad thing. Let me rephrase. Thomas was on the stage behind 2
I
degrees.
was gonna get there, but then I seen this video and I was like proper, because like it's just like a literally, and Thirsty Goat is literally just you step up. Like.
Yeah, it wasn't even a stage.
And then it was
like,
me, like it was me, and I was actually behind them.
they were looking in the video. They were looking around like, "What the fuck are you doing
Like,
behind
I
us?"
wasn't
Like,
even. I was in front of them. I was on the stage behind them. Like.
and proper like up in their face.
it was such a small stage. These are so close together.
There was a bit.
You must be a class. Yeah, I'm like, look at me backstage,
Yeah, I'm just here with the guys from 2 degrees.
right in their faces and all.
All access backstage. And then the worst part was he like turned to like film Jordy, and Jordy like looked around as if like, oh, that, like you could tell they were both like, oh, this is go away. And then there was just a bit where you just see Brona in the crowd and she just goes like this.
Oh my god.
But it's the fact that, like, I could imagine, right? I could imagine seeing that in real life and seeing you on the stage, or even like me, and we'd be proper like. But I just imagine like Thomas like.
Probably was.
Expressionless.
I can't believe it on that one. I'm so disgusted with myself. It's just like it was a blacked out and all, and it was like bad enough about the whole thing. Like. And then I was looking at my phone next day and I seen that, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I've done that.
Did you put up like stories and all?
No, he didn't.
Thank fuck. Imagine that was my story.
Lad, I
Tagging
remember
2 degrees and all.
He was messaging me about something I knew by the tone of his messages. He was steaming.
Fuck.
And then the next morning at like 10 o'clock, I was like, you came into my head, and I was like, must give Tommy a ring here and see if he's alright. Rung him. Just pitch black. I was like, well. And then he just like cut to his face, him and Brona lying in bed, and he was like, alright, lad. And I was like, well. And he was like, I was like, alright, last night? And he was like, yeah, lad. And I was like, how you get on? And he was like, oh, lad, like, I don't know what happened last night. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, there's shit all over my clothes. And I was like, oh my days. And then like it was about 4 hours of radio silence where you must have been sleeping off, and then you sent in that video. I have never laughed.
I'm glad I sent it.
So
in,
out
I
of
was
your
looking at it
character. It
myself.
is so out of your
I was looking
character.
at myself and I was proper in the pits. I was like, I'm a wanker. And then I sent it into you, and then I was actually laughing about it.
If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
I was glad. I sent
Everybody knows.
it. Oh my god.
You have to put it in the clip for TikTok.
Oh, absolutely not.
Just a wee snippet
I
of
hope.
it. Just a wee bit with Brona going with the finger, being like, get the fuck down
I
here
hope
now.
I've deleted it. Man. Actually, please.
We'll have it. Don't worry. I'll send it to you, Shay, and you can stick it in.
You.
We've talked whose idea was it to start the podcast and how did it come about. We've already talked about that. Your go-to takeaway order.
So many.
Where do we start?
The takeaway daddy.
I would say like if
First, name a plate. Indian first. Go Indian. Because I don't favor one over the other. Like
you can answer this question. Indian. What do you go for Indian?
There's certain nights for different things. So Indian kebab, just garlic sauce, no chili sauce because it ruins the flavor of it. With chips and salad, and I don't like the naan bread on it.
Nice.
So
Depends
all in
what
one.
naan bread though.
But it has to be skinny chips.
You can get nice like sweet naan bread,
but
that's nicer with
there's an
like curry, you know.
yeah. I love the garlic just piled on it, like garlic mayo.
Okay. Well, maybe
I don't think
go-
it's a big deal if this is long. Just
Yeah,
keep going.
I'm just
Right,
concerned about
next
the
one.
batteries.
Well, you can't just skip off
the
for just doing
battery's not
Indian.
gonna
Like.
die. Like.
No, I was meaning next one as in
Alright.
like Indian, Chinese.
Chinese. Everyone has to go for the salted chili chicken. Like. No peppers, just onions because the peppers make the chicken soggy. Hack for you, just onions. It's actually nice sometimes in the Chinese that do carrots with it. Carrots are quite nice with it.
Yeah.
I'm not a curry kind of person. I like satay sauce, so we get a side of not chicken fried rice, just fried rice with satay sauce on it. Is anyone else going to answer, or is it just
I
going to
thought
be?
this was
You're the
you
food
sort of
expert,
took it over here.
You can go too.
You know where's been lethal at the minute?
Where?
Wing it.
Oh, it's so fucking good. Them barbecue. Oh, I am
Lethal.
such an
I got it
advocate
the other day, like.
for Frank's hot wings, but them fucking Jack Daniels barbecue ones out of Wing It.
I got even salted chili
my
chicken.
god,
The salted chili chicken ones as well. Hey?
they're
Proper
special.
nice. You know when it's nice, like crispy. Like it's not like it's just like
It's
the right-
crunch. Like.
it's crispy and then the chicken's nice and like moist.
Yeah, it's not like soggy butter. Like.
No.
It's
Them-
proper crunch.
Them wings, them garlicky wings I had out of Bootleggers was unreal. That's like I'm not really a wing person until you sort of said try them, and I was like, right, okay.
Top food place in Belfast. Say.
A wing it's up there for me at the minute. Like.
It's fucking
It
banging
is
out some.
lethal.
Yeah, I
Sick
haven't
feed,
had one.
If you're looking
haven't
at
had a wing it.
Chinese, eat Hakka and Strombolus is sick.
The Chinese in Belfast is shit.
That's a decent one though.
Oh,
Like
is it?
compared to back home.
I
Like.
don't think I've had it,
But
but
there's so many shit Chinese up here. Like.
oh, terrible.
Awful. Like.
Yeah. What else is good out here?
Bougie.
Bootleggers is always a shout. Like.
Bootleggers
It's always
is
a
sick.
solid, like.
I do like Bootleggers.
You just
You've
know-
only recently got on a Boojum though.
I know. I used to not like it. Like.
Yeah.
And then something just flipped. Like. It's just a game changer. But then I don't know. I think you need to be in the mood for it. Like. Like the other day, Bruno was like ordering food. Like it was before we were going up the road. And she's like, "Oh, do you want to get a Boojum?" And I was like, "No." It's like I'm not hungry, and I didn't
Yeah.
get one, and then I ended up ordering wings like, from Wing It.
The top hangover one, weirdly for me, has to be Nando's. Hey,
No, Maggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love a Nando's, even though it's sort of soggy. Like, I think it's just so good for an after night out. Like.
You know what I hate about Maggie Mays though? It takes so long to
Oh,
get
it's
delivered.
fucking
It's
killer.
literally like 70-minute wait for delivery.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Like.
It's nice when you get somewhere like that. You can do like milkshakes and burgers, because whenever I'm like feeling rough the next day, I go from craving savoury to sweet to back to like, once I have something savoury, I'm like, God, I'd love something sweet. Have like a milkshake, and then you're back to like, I'd love like salty chips. You know what I mean? It's just a vicious cycle.
Maggie
now.
Mays does it all day.
But if you're down around Ballymena direction, the Wolf is a good shout.
What's it do?
Everything. Kebabs, burgers,
Was that the
pizza.
place beside that spar we were at? Or the old,
See, I find places like that sort of dodgy. Like. You need to specify in a certain type of food. Like.
Nah, I don't think so.
I
They
don't
do.
like that.
Mm.
Like I don't like when
Fair
you go
though.
to Chinese and they do cheeseburgers and all. I'm
No.
a bit like, make up your mind. Like,
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
It's one of the other lot.
that's
Okay.
why I sort of like it up here, because everything's sort of like specialized. Like where do you go back
Niche.
home that just does wings like,
I know. That's mad. Like.
or burritos? Like?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
When you have guests on, do you ever have hard-hitting questions you want to ask, or do you just big each other up? There's nothing necessarily wrong with that either.
What do you mean big each other up?
As
Like-
in, like, sort of, I think what they're trying to say is, do you never ask any questions that you think are going to cause a bit of a row?
Don't know.
I think it's. I don't think it's what you ask. I think it's how you ask it.
I think one thing that we've talked about before is like you've said it a lot, Shay, is like we feel like sometimes we aren't as edgy as we used to be.
Yeah.
Like
You've
if
lost the edge, lads.
So,
The edge,
but I
like.
know what you mean, and I think it's well because we have like jobs and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any questions that we wouldn't ask though. Like I don't think there's anyone else that we've got on and we've been like,
Yeah.
like all we want to ask. Like even like when you think of like when we had Gady and Get on, like or Jed, when we had and it was the whole like thing about the TT.
yeah.
Like you were like saying, you did say like all about the whole hands thing, and you did say like was say it about like, do you think you're posting too much online?
Yeah.
Like for me, that's things people mightn't have said. Like people might have got him on the podcast and been like, you know, we could have had him on and been like, oh lad,
Yeah, 'cause-
do you know what I mean? Like we asked not
Yeah.
difficult questions, but like things that we were saying like when we first talked about it. Like,
It's not. It's not what you ask. It's about how you ask it
Yeah.
and how you respond to things. Like at the
That's
end
a
of the
good
day,
point,
if you go back to that Jed and Gady podcast, Gady actually said, "Do you like my content?" And I think probably I flapped about the point a bit, but I went, "No."
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I think that this is a narrative that everybody's pushing at the minute, where it's
Yeah.
like, if I dislike you, I have to leave a comment.
Yeah.
No,
But
you
you
don't.
sort of have to put yourself in them shoes and just be like, if he turned around to you and goes, no, would you care? Like?
Yeah.
You'd
But-
be annoyed
yeah.
if he says he doesn't like your content.
Yeah.
But not because he thinks it's shit or anything, it's just not his taste. Like, I wouldn't be offended. Like,
Yeah,
No.
I'd rather someone said that.
But
like.
he has said that to us. He has never said he dislikes our content, but we have. I remember asking Gady, when he first came on, I was like, like if you listen to many episodes, he was like, lad, I've never actually listened to the podcast, but like I see the clips.
Yeah.
Like he could have went on and listened to it, but he chose not to, probably because it's not his cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's not about what you say; it's about how you say it. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
But I don't think there is. I don't think we have ever really shied away from asking questions. Though.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I don't necessarily think we do just get people on and beg them up. Like even with the Sinead Haig one, like you were saying, like we don't really know much about you, or we don't really know much about what you do. And like when we were getting you like you said yourself, like the two of you were like, when we were getting you on, we were sort of like, fuck, I don't know how this is gonna go. Like.
Yeah.
But like you're not gonna get people on and be a fucking dick to them either.
No,
like, they're
definitely.
taking their time out to
Yeah.
come on and do an episode with you and like sit with you and have a conversation. Like.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
have to be respectful. Like.
On that question, then, who would your dream podcast guest be?
I don't have one. I don't know.
I feel like you'd love to get someone like Jake Paul or Logan Paul on, someone who you know you could like really get
See-
into a conversation with.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't think I could keep up with their energy. Like.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they'd be coming on here and it'd be the fucking Jake Paul show. Like.
Yeah.
Whereas they don't match us. Like. I
Yeah.
think the best podcasts we've done, or that we've enjoyed most anyway, are people who are sort of similar
Yeah, like 2 degrees.
vibe to us.
Yeah.
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 But I don't know. Like, I love watching them and shit. Like, but I just think
You'd love to get
wouldn't.
Ryan
I'd love to
McMullen.
meet
Ryan
them and stuff,
McMullen.
like. Yeah,
You'd love to get him on.
that'd be good. Like.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, like
fair
I think when you're thinking about your dream podcast guest, we probably automatically go to the person who you know full well
Yeah.
I could sit down with you and have a 2-hour conversation because I know a lot about you. Like any guests that we've had on, we haven't known a lot about them, and I think that's kind of the reason why we want to get them on, to learn more about them. But like you would, like, I'm not sure who your pick would be, but I guarantee it would be someone who you followed for a long time, you admire, and you would be so confident as soon as they sat down, I would know exactly what I'd want to ask you.
Yeah.
So who would yours be?
Neil deGrasse Tyson. I wouldn't know anything
like
about
the-
him really,
He
but
definitely
I just
leads the
think he would
conversation.
just ooze knowledge. Like.
He's
Yeah.
like the
I'd be
scientist.
so
guy,
interested.
isn't he?
Yeah. That would be amazing. Like.
What about you?
It's a tough one. Bit of a random one, but Niall Horan. Because I'd love to actually, but like you'd want it to be like he actually tells you everything though.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'd love to get him on and actually talk about like what One Direction was really like, and like what it was like growing up. Because I feel like if the diary of a CEO, and it's very like fucking how do you grow up, and like I feel like it's sort of getting to the stage now. It's very like rinse and repeat, and it's getting a bit deep. Whereas I feel like Niall Horan's a bit like he's good crack. Like you see the way him and Lewis Capaldi get on, but also you could be a bit like what was that really like?
Yeah.
Do you know? I feel like because he's been around so long as well, it would be interesting. And he's Irish, so I feel like he would be the same sort of vibe as us.
Sometimes I look at really famous people and just be like, yeah, it'd be cool to podcast you, but at the same time, it's like everyone knows everything you do anyway, all the time. So
yeah,
like you're not going to get interesting conversation
like
out
when
of
you
a lot
said-
of famous people.
When you said about Jake Paul, my first thought was, but like everything, their whole life's online anyway.
You know, yeah.
Like everyone knows what they're doing.
Like you'd just be repeating, like you'd just be going on watching like things they've done and just ask them about it. Like you wouldn't actually hear any like new stories or shit. Like
Jeremy Clarkson
yeah,
That would be
that would be good. Like
because he's been around ages.
yeah. I think someone who was able to tell you like a story from something you can't experience, like another time or something, or like what do you call it? The Jackmate podcast they had. What do you call it on? Your boy who was in prison. Like such a random guest, but it'd be so interesting hearing something like that from like that perspective.
See, I'd love to get more guests I got on. We've sort of talked about it as like people who are just like actually an expert in something. And could talk, because like I think Dutch Sinead Haig one done so well because like she was actually so like had so much knowledge and like what she was talking about, and we had no fucking idea. So it was like so like we were learning so much from it and proper like oh my god and like interested in it.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's hard though, because like when you think of famous people, you're sort of like they've done that many interviews, they've been on that many podcasts already. You're sort of like is there that much more to ask?
What's going to be different from the last one?
Because like it's like I think like we get people messaging us being like, oh, you should get Shane Todd on, you should get Colin Gaddis on, and we're like, but like if people want to listen to them, they'll go listen to their podcast. So.
Exactly.
Do you know, like people can go and listen to 2 or 3, but they do like 2 podcasts a week. Do you know?
What do you think is your worst personality characteristic?
Procrastination.
Yeah.
I had so much work to do there on Sunday when I came home. Slapped on the PC and rust.
Yeah.
Bang, bang, let's
Bang,
go.
bang.
It's always like, I'm playing it and I'm like, oh, right, looking at the clock. Say it's 5:30. Right, 6 o'clock. That's me, done. Next thing, you just pass 6 o'clock by 10 minutes because you got like carried away. Right, 7 o'clock. You know, you always have to finish in like an hour.
Yeah.
And then I ended up playing like 10 o'clock. Like. I'm so bad for that sort of thing. Like.
What about you?
I don't know. It's something similar to what Shay said, like procrastination. I feel like it's like I want to do so much, but then I'm so like I don't know. Like there's too much going on. In my head. Like.
Yeah.
Like I think of all these ideas, the things I want to do and stuff, and you're just like, and then you feel like you're never doing enough. Like.
Yeah.
Like even on work, like sometimes I'm like, oh, like you should always have more done. You should always be doing more. And then it's like outside of work, you're like, oh, I should be doing more for the podcast and doing this and doing that. And then even like then it's like, oh, you're not going to the gym. Like. Do you know what I mean? There's always something you're like, oh, like you're not doing enough. Like that, and it's just it gets a bit you just annoy yourself with that. Like. But I don't know.
Overthinking maybe.
That is what mine is. Like. Oh, I just overthink everything. Like.
I think I know too well how long something takes me to do. I can know exactly how quick I can get it done. Yeah. But I don't do it, get it done.
Yeah.
I'll go right to the end, and then as soon as that like allotted time frame is all that's left, then I'll do it.
Yeah.
I do get things done, like, but it's just when I do them, it's just procrastination is just a
Yeah.
bitch. Like.
Yeah, I would say mine's overthinking, or like probably knowing when to not care and when to care, if that makes sense. And it comes a bit with overthinking, where like I'll overthink, like if we say you say something and it's maybe a bit of like a joke and I maybe don't take it, like you'll maybe say something and and it'll be such like an ad hoc thing you'll say to me, and I'll immediately start overthinking and thinking, oh, he thinks this of me, oh, he thinks I'm that, he thinks I'm this and that, and it really starts to play on my head to the point where like I cannot even like function. I'm proper like, God, what the, like I need to address that. Like, does that make sense? I can't like sort of let it go.
Yeah.
I would say it's one thing that I'm trying to like work on a lot at the moment. Is just being like, don't care about this, Ross. Like, there's no sense in you getting worried about this because you cannot control the outcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'd say that's probably the one thing I really dislike about me.
That's funny because you said you're going to work on it, but you have to work less on it.
Yeah,
Because you have to
Wow.
yeah,
stop.
fair, man.
Knowledge.
That's fair. Yeah,
Knowledge.
yeah. It's
Being
I
naive.
think recently I've sort of I've become aware that it's quite tiring. It's quite a tiring thing to always be thinking about stuff.
Thinking takes up a lot of energy. Like,
Yeah,
like and
it
it's,
does.
as
That.
stupid as it seems, like it's
100%.
mental drain is the thing.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah,
I think it was. That's why that Sinead Haig podcast hit so hard.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
said so many things, and he was sitting there like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And stuff you're not generally told in day-to-day life too, like.
yeah. But you say to me earlier on, like, you know, you would probably change me being like so organized, but you also were like, it's also a good thing because like, and that's I think why this works so well is because we all have different strengths and different weaknesses where we kind of prop each other up. But like I love being organized. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I love being organized, and you'll never take that away from me. I don't think I could switch that off. But the overthinking everything, like, it's just such a it's an annoyance. Straight after that, someone asked hold on, what was your biggest insecurity? So there you go. Most embarrassing thing you've ever done. We've already talked about that. Has there ever been a time where you wanted to give up the podcast?
Yeah.
So many.
So many times. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
I always think back to like the earliest moment was like the first clip that sort of blew up was the Nolan one,
yeah.
and before that, like I remember I always had this fully believed that if we kept posting on TikTok, something was gonna hit like. But it was getting to the stage where like you were posting and posting, and I was just like, I don't know if this is going anywhere. Like. But then I feel like, and then there's moments recently where I'm sort of like, what are we doing? Like?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
So when everything sort of drop off, and it's like being on such a high, and then it just. Like,
Yeah, it's a roller
but
coaster
it
doing
happens,
this.
like,
Like.
yeah.
I was listening to Peter Crouch podcast. He had Ed Sheeran on, and he said something, and it was like, I was proper like, fuck. And he said, he was like talking about like when he was started off, and he was like playing A team, and he went to this gig in London, and he's like, the train ticket was like 60 quid, and he was getting paid 50 quid. On his head, he was like, I'm gonna I'll sell a few CDs and make it back. And he was on at 9 o'clock, and he went to the gig, and there was nobody there, and it came to 9 o'clock, and it was just him and the sound guy in the bar, and no one showed up. And he's like, oh, can I wait like half an hour? And he's like, yeah, no bother. And he's like, came to 9:30, no one. And then he said he ended up waiting to like 10, and the sound guy was like, oh, you have to go,
Fuck.
like you're gonna have to play here, like. And he done it. But then he says he was like and then he missed his train, so he missed like the last train out of London, so he had to sit in the train station at like 6 in the morning.
Oh my god.
And he said he was sitting there thinking, fuck, like, he's like, what am I doing here? Like?
Yeah.
And he says he just went through stages where it was like you would have had like a point where you like thought you were on the rise, and then next thing like you're just back at square one, and you're like, what the fuck? And I feel like that happens also much where it's like you have podcast, like we'll be like putting podcasts out, and every week the views go up, the views go up, and then next thing it's just a big dip, and you're just like, fuck. And then it's the same with the clips. It's like there's weeks where we're firing clips out and they're getting fucking 50k, 100k views, and then the last few weeks like they're hitting 3k, 5k, and you're sitting there like, Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we work as well. Like it's like,
Yeah.
there's fucking times you're like coming home from work and adding clips and doing whatever, and you're just like,
Yeah.
what are we doing? Like?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Like, whenever shit gets sort of tough, you're just like, fuck's sake. Like, it's annoying whenever you're like, we're all putting in that sort of time, and then you're just getting like nothing back. Not that like, it sort of, I think it sort of comes across whenever we're saying this that we don't, like, we're not doing it just because we love it. Like, yeah, we are, but at the same time, it's like, you get those highs, and then you're like, fuck, you just want to keep going. Like, you know, you get this image in your head of, fuck, you know, like, we might get to this point this time round, like, you know, might end up fucking getting like 100,000 subscribers on YouTube if things just blow up and it just keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah.
But then it just dips, and you're like, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a fucking, like, a lead balloon. Like.
Yeah. My energy for this, what we're doing at the moment, very much like, is partly to do with what you're saying and like the external stuff, like views and whatnot. So it can become quite disheartening when you're putting effort into something and you're not seeing the results.
Yeah.
Where it's maybe like something like a shadow ban, something on TikTok, and you kind of in your head you're like, maybe it's us, maybe we're crap at this, and we should just give it up.
Can overthink it. Like.
As well as a big part of it for me comes with like how yous are doing. Like if you like, I definitely have been on calls, like me and you phoned each other, and you've been like, I can just tell by your energy and your like sort of general demeanor that you're like, yeah, nah, I'm not in the mood for this.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, if you're not enjoying it, I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
Because I've said this to you before. I've said this to you both before. Like, if someone turned around and said to us in the morning, you need to give this up, I would be like, yeah, like I wouldn't be happy about it. But at the same time, like, the main thing is the sort of the friendship that we all have. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that means more than just the podcast, if that makes sense. So like, if it turned around and it just ended in the morning, it'd be like, right, whatever. Like, it was a good run, but we're still mates. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like, yeah, whenever I feel like yous aren't in the mood to do something, it really like affects my mood. Like there's been days where I've not been in a good form or in the mood, and yous have been like, come on, like we need to get this done. And I'm like, all right, immediately.
That really sounds like us.
I'm like, immediately.
More like, come on.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, come on, we'll just do it. And you're like, yeah, fair enough. But then the days where like I've come in and I know you're in bad form, I'm like, no, I'm in bad form now too. Yeah, immediately drags me down.
But my biggest fear is like, we've done it for so long, I don't want to stop it. Like I feel like something has to come from it.
That something will come from it. We're
Do you know
enjoying
what I mean?
doing it.
I just don't want it. Like, that's what my biggest fear with it is. Like, I don't want to stop and just look back and think, because it's like people always say you stop just before. Like everyone always quits just before they're about to like get that sort of open that next door.
Honestly,
like, get that next step. And that's what I fear. Like.
I think people look at it and go, oh, you want this to be big, you want to quit your jobs and do this full time. No, I'm happy enough working. And my success for this would be if we were able to work and excel in our own areas, like, do you know what I mean? And like do our own thing, and then we have this and it's doing well. We're pulling in people, like promoting brands. We're working with people that we actually like working with.
Yeah.
And we feel like we're providing something. Because see this here, what we're doing right now, it's a distraction from all the other crap that's going on in life, like work and all that there.
Yeah.
And it's like, why would you just turn, like anything that I've proper tried to put effort in 100%, I've just ended up like enjoying it less because there's so much stress. Whereas like if we were able to do this on the side like we're doing now and get paid a bit of money for it and it goes well and we're providing a bit of value, then happy days.
I think too, it's not that you want to quit the podcasting. It's more you want to quit like doing the social media. Like all the little things that come with the podcast.
It's the time.
If you could come here, like just rock up, someone fucking takes care of the cameras, someone takes care of the sound, someone edits it, like you do that for free, like.
Oh, we'd be happy enough to do that.
That's what
just for the crack, like.
It's the time, like. Because there's like we do like, it mightn't seem like it, but like so much time goes into it, like.
And
it's like
the late nights and all that shit.
It's like sometimes I'm like, if I was putting my time into something else, like,
see, that's why
could I be making more money? Could I be like, do you know what I mean?
And it's about playing to your strength as well. Like you obviously, like anything that we do edit wise, like an hour long podcast, you edit, but like you have the finished product at the end of the day, and like you do the clips and stuff. And it's but then you also have to consider like where we do a call on like a weeknight, and it could be like a couple of hours where we're talking about like what do we want to do next, who should we reach out to for sponsorship, how should we price ourselves,
Yeah.
what should we talk about in this next podcast, like?
Yeah.
Like all the background stuff is hard as well. Like, cause you're constantly like, it'll come to you at like flipping like 5 a.m. Like you'll just wake up and you'll be like, oh, I need to do that. Like, do you know what I mean? And it's that sort of stuff where you wish, like, I definitely think if we could rock up and just someone records it and someone edits it, we'd be loving life. Like,
Yeah.
but here,
Maybe someday.
Someday.
That would be the goal. Like. I think that would be a big goal. Like.
You do that for free.
If you could get someone,
Yeah,
if
it'd be nice
we were
getting money,
making,
like.
if we're making money, I would love to make money from it, where we could pay someone to edit it and produce it basically, and all we're doing is do it, like showing up and recording.
Yeah.
Like if we got to that stage, I'd be like, this is fucking sick. Like you would
Yeah.
have so much more time just
Yeah.
to like do other stuff and figure out like how to grow this. Like.
what/who? So I'm assuming that means or who. What or who inspires you? I don't know if this necessarily comes from the like a podcast, because it's not like we have like we're completely business minded when it comes to this, but like I suppose just like in general day-to-day life.
I don't really. There's not really anyone to look at, and I'm like, fucking, I want to be like you. Like.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's a good question.
Myself.
Wow.
Wow.
Like, do you, like I find
This got really deep. Wow.
I don't look at what's like. It's kind of like no offense to people who do this, but like, you know, you look up someone and they're like, "You're my hero. I want to be like you. You motivate me." Like. But if I'm being a better person, like say I'm going to the gym, eating healthy, stuff like that, that'll like motivate me to do other things that aren't benefited directly by like being fitter or being healthier. Like in my mindset, I'll be like, fuck, I ate healthy the other day, I'm gonna go to bed early the night or something like that, and then I wake up early the next morning. So in a way I sort of like motivate myself, like.
Yeah.
But inadvertently too, like, by being like, when you do good things like physically, like say work Shay is gonna start doing good things now.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
like there's like home Shay, rest Shay, gym Shay, work Shay and all that.
Yeah.
Each of them, once one starts going good, it encourages the
Yeah,
other one to go
multiple
better.
personalities. Like.
Yeah.
What an answer. Like.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I would say the what.
Mind
the-
blown.
Yeah, I would say the what inspires me is like, I really do think about this a lot, and it might come back to the overthinking. Is like when we are 70,
Yeah.
do you really want to look back in your life and go, I didn't do that because I was scared of what people thought of me, or I was scared like about I think that's what inspires me to like even outside of the podcast, like, because I know doing this is a bit sort of like not really a lot of people do stuff like this, and it's sort of putting yourself out there. But besides that, I think just in everyday life, it's like, do you really want to look back and think, I was just one of them people where I just like done everything by the book, like, do you know what I mean? Where it's like you just do it. Like, I definitely feel like the past few years I've become very aware of that, where it's just like, I'm doing what I want now. Spent too long thinking about like, oh, I have to play everything out by like this certain playbook.
Yeah.
I don't really have a who inspires me.
So you'd be like negatively motivated nearly, like in an opposite way. So you'd be like, you'd say things you don't want.
Yeah.
And then work hard to not get that.
It's even in work, like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the job I'm doing at the moment, like, I'm definitely like, all my mind is so laser focused on how can I get better at the job I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's like someone asked me that question a while ago in an interview, where they're like, where do you want to be in 5 years time? And I was like, obviously you want to be earning good money and supporting yourself and maybe supporting someone else, but at the same time, where do you want to be in 5 years time? Like, I would quite like to be the person that like whenever I walked out of uni and walked into a job, like there was people in the place I work in who I did like look up to and be like, they're pretty cool. Like, they're like, I would want to be where they are.
Yeah.
And it would be nice to think that you're in a workplace and someone who's just out of uni, so unconfident about what they want to do in life, has had no direction from anybody at all, to walk in and go, I really admire him. Like, I'd love to sit down and have a coffee with him and like chat about like how you got to where you are.
Yeah.
I think that would be the definition of like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'd sort of be similar enough in that aspect as well. I think you saying about like going into an interview and someone saying, where do you want to be in 10 years? It's so hard to sit there and be like,
Yeah.
no, exactly. But it's so much easier to think where you don't want to be. Like say, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to be fucking where I am now, still here. Like. So it's easier to think of that in that aspect for me. Like.
What about you?
It's has got so deep. Like. Don't know.
This is the questions that people have asked.
I would love to get to the stage where I chose what I wanted to do. Like I had the freedom to do what I want to do and the time to do. Because I feel like I just hate the 9 to 5. Like.
I think that's become such a big thing for all of us recently.
I don't necessarily not like my job, like, but it's like I just think the thing that I keep on thinking is like, is this it? Like? Is there not more? Like, is this what? Like, I've had this conversation with using Brona and all like recently. It's just like, is this just life now?
Yeah.
Like I think it is that.
Scary,
it's that realization of like coming out of uni and like you get a job and then you're thinking about saving for a house. And then, we're obviously getting married and stuff, and it's like paying for a wedding, and it's like when you sign up to those things, you can't just go and leave your job. Like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's like I remember when I left my last job, like I have savings and all, like so I left my job, and I was confident that I'd get another one. So I quit without having another job lined up, but I'd like to say 10 interviews lined up. Like.
Yeah.
But it's like when you have those things now, like
then you couldn't do that.
Like, you can't do that because you need the money you're saving to pay for stuff. Like. If that makes sense. Like.
Yeah.
And even further down the line, I suppose, when you have kids, like you can't jump out of a job and be like, fuck, I'm so like career change here. Like.
Now's the time to do this. And it's like, that's the thing I'm saying is like when you're thinking about you could be doing more, like it's like sometimes I'm just like, if you're gonna do something, you need to do it now.
The one thing I would say though is when it comes to I get where you're coming from, but something that I've become quite comfortable with the fact is like you don't have to have it all sus now. Like. Like you don't, and I feel you are this is another characteristic of yours which I wish I could change. But no, I'm joking. You're quite like you're impatient. You know what I mean? I know. You're impatient, where I feel like you're almost too forward thinking. Where it's like I genuinely think there's times where like you see whenever you've let things just be how they are, things have fallen into place for you. Whereas like 2 months prior to that, there was no content in you. Like you were like, I need this now. Like, no, I need to know now. So just roll with the flow. Take advice from the most chill person in this room.
I was saying a good quote. I was like TikTok or something. I was like, when you go to hell, you meet the person you could have been. Like, and I was like,
inspiring.
Fuck. Or it's like something like, what if you died and like you met this guy, and it was the person you could have been if you'd done all the things you said you were going to do and you wanted to do, you know? If you like hadn't let anything held you back, you know?
Oh, right.
So it's basically like, you know, if you don't, like what Ross was saying there, like you don't want to like look back and think, oh, I could have done that. Like.
No regrets.
And it's like the person you meet when you die is the person that was like done it all, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I feel like in this generation though, people are so worried about like making their mark for other people. Making their mark for like, I want to be known by other people for this. And I have not one care in the world of that. It's more, I want to look back and be like, I didn't do that. I didn't do that. I done that thing because I wanted to do it. I didn't do that because it was like following the crowd. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, people are happy. Like you look at people who may be working on like for themselves, and you're probably like, oh, they get to pick what they want to do. Get to pick what they want to do in the day. But then like you also have to look at like their social life as well. Are they going to the same place every weekend with the same people?
No.
You know what I mean?
That's what we do. It comes with the good and the bad though. Like, like it's stressful running your own business. Like you can't just like give up, if that makes sense. Like, you can't just stop for like a month. Yeah.
Anything you miss about lockdown?
The nights playing Warzone.
100%.
Every day.
Swanking
like,
about
it was all day, every day. Like it was like you were just on.
It's not as
What? So you just glance over that. What did you say? Running to the bank?
I said wanking about. Like.
Wanking about it. That's something else.
That too.
Just doing what like having no, but like that's the thing is like I feel like everyone just stopped. Like.
It was like being a child again, wasn't it?
Yeah. You had no responsibilities.
You proper paused life.
You had no stresses, and you're just war zoning every day. And getting sauced every night.
Yeah.
But it's like Monday of the morning. Doesn't fucking matter.
I know, it literally does not matter. Like.
Yeah.
Whereas like now, it's just like, you just feel like there's no stop. Like.
Yeah.
No, like,
and the weekends are just
I can't
easily.
believe, like that
they're gone.
past weekend, they were just, I felt like, was 30 seconds. Like.
Yeah. They go
just
so fast. Like.
It's so
And I hate Sunday nights. You're just sort of trying to cling on to it.
Oh
like.
no.
I always end up staying so late. I'm like, oh, it's still Saturday. It's still
That's what I
Saturday.
done. That's what I done last night. I stayed up so late. Oh, now I'm fucking wrecked.
What's some overrated and slash underrated brands?
As in clothing.
Clothing. It could be anything. Like they've detailed on here. Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein.
I think Calvin Klein's definitely overrated. Like, because there's, I think all them like big designer brands like Calvin Klein and all, like their stuff looks shit.
Yeah.
Like even you look at the Calvin Klein shoes and the Gucci shoes. Like to me, like if you go into flannels,
Yeah.
there's so much shit in there that is stinking.
I seen a video
And just
earlier.
because there's a big price tag on it, people are like,
Yeah.
yeah, this looks sick.
Like
you know,
Stone Island.
it came up on my TikTok
Some-
earlier about some
yeah.
pair of jeans, and they were like, it was like someone spray painted them, and you could see the normal color of the jeans under, but they're all like peeled paint, like it was like plasticky paint.
Yeah.
1,100 quid. I don't even know what brand they were, but they were fucking disgusting. Like.
Yeah.
But someone will buy them, like, just because of the price tag.
But
Yeah.
like there's people, like I think people think just because they spend a load of money on clothes it looks good,
Yeah.
and like it's not the case. Like.
No.
Like just because you get a t-shirt that says Hugo Boss on it doesn't mean it's a nice t-shirt. like.
Yeah.
But like,
Lad, there's so many people who you see on nights out and they're just wearing a plain white t-shirt. That could be any brand. Absolutely any brand. But then
Says
you're like,
Boss or something.
they're
like
like,
that.
oh, it's like, this is like Boss or Tommy Hilfiger. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know, apart from that tiny little label on your sleeve,
Yeah.
I could be
Yeah.
wearing
I could have
F and
been a
F.
Primark t-shirt.
Yeah, and no one would have known.
It's things
Yeah.
like that fuck me off when buys buy like it's a plain white t-shirt and they spend like fucking like 50, 60, 70 quid
Says
on it.
Yeah.
Balenciaga on it.
I like represent stuff like, but like
Yeah.
I was had this conversation with Brona not too long ago, and I was thinking like I barely buy clothes anymore, whereas like I feel like I went through a stage of just buying stuff for the sake of it, even
Yeah.
like shoes and stuff like. But I was like thinking like, do you remember back when you were in high school and you would have been going out and you would have went and got yourself like a shirt out or every end or something, spent like 20, 30 quid on an outfit for
Yeah.
going out at the weekend. Whereas now, like, you're buying stuff on ASOS and spending 100, 200 quid.
Yeah.
And it's so unnecessary, like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, now I've just got to the stage where it's like, if I'm going out, I might buy something, like.
Yeah. It always seems to be like, I always find that like hoodies, sweatshirts and overshirts are something that I can never get enough of. Like I could wear black jeans and a black t-shirt on a night out, and it like literally I'll be like, but I want a different overshirt.
Yeah.
I want a different jumper.
Oh,
I don't
you
know
only
really
need
that-
two pairs
yeah.
of jeans, though.
Yeah.
Also,
You need a black pair and you need a blue pair, and that's you.
Yeah. So
Extra
true.
skinny.
fashion tips.
Spray on.
Spray on skinny.
Yeah.
Or dye.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Top Man still do the best jeans, though.
Yeah.
I was just
Dye
actually
sauce on
thinking
Top Man,
that. Top Man,
Hit it
unreal.
up, like. 30 quid, 40
Unbeatable.
quid for a pair of jeans, like.
ASOS trackies too.
Bargains.
Tenner. Like. Fucking couldn't beat it. Like.
Don't know an underrated brand that's underrated, like.
As soon as you rip them, buy a new pair. Tenner. Like.
No bad.
Unreal.
Don't really know who would
Underrated.
be an underrated brand. I do think we've worked with them before. Outside In are a very underrated brand. Like I do like their
Their stuff's
Clothes,
nice. Yeah,
huh?
their stuff is nice. It's
Yeah.
good quality, like.
Don't really know. You know what I think Reebok.
You know-
Reebok's quite an under like so Reebok do some cool vintage
I have
shoes.
a lot of Reebok
like,
shoes,
Yeah,
yeah.
Reebok.
I
You
do
know where's
enjoy them.
underrated, hey?
Where?
And I feel like I'm getting old, but I've been on it a few times and I'm like, some nice drip, like.
Where?
Next.
Next,
Some
Man,
good
you
stuff
know,
in
you
the
know,
next
hey.
day.
we've talked
There's
about
some good stuff in it,
Yeah,
like. I'm
Yeah,
not joking.
But I do agree, but I went in before holidays
Yeah.
and there was a sale rail. I was pulling all these shirts out in like fucking proper snazzy designs, like. And I went into the fitting room and tried them on, and like I was like, fuck, these look good, like. I bought about 3 shirts, but see, for some reason, whenever I took them home and then put them on, the fit was just shit, like they look so good on the reel, and they actually look good on whenever I was in change rooms. But then as soon as I put them on in like a real life scenario,
Yeah.
and I got a picture and
Swindler.
all, it just didn't look right, like. There was just something about
Do you know
how
what-
they fitted, it just
do you know
wasn't
what-
right, like.
When it comes to jeans, the one thing I'm getting really annoyed at the minute, I don't mind baggy. I'm actually getting used to baggy at the minute.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually loving baggy. But you see down around my ankles, I can't have them flaring out around my ankles.
Oh, same.
Like I tried a pair of jeans on in Primark the other day, literally, because I was like, I have a good pair of jeans that I wear on like nights out and stuff, and then I have like a pair of jeans which I'll buy from like Primark or like like wherever, like, and it's just like a 20 quid pair of jeans that you're like throw on to go to work and whatnot. If you get them stained, you just, like the other day I wore them, got them stained, and ended up scrubbing them with like a little, like a bit of kitchen roll, and ended up like, you could just tell they were cheap jeans, like, because I like ended up a big massive patch of like white, but like they fit it so well. They were nice and tight down around my ankles, but like not so tight up around my top, like. So yeah, I went into Primark the other day and they were just like tight. As soon as it got down to my ankles, just like flared out. It looked like flipping one of them, what do you call them,
bootcut jeans.
Yeah. So annoyed.
Yeah.
But here, that's life.
That's us.
That's us through the questions. There's a few other questions. Boxers or briefs?
Boxers,
obviously. I have a crush on you. Cool. That came in a few times. I assume that's aimed towards Shay. There's a couple of raunchy ones. What's your age? I'm 23.
24.
25.
Hey, 23, 24, 25. What's your favourite podcast moment? And we'll end with that. We've talked about my favourite.
The Beyblade one.
Yeah.
I've never laughed as hard in my life. That was so funny. You know?
I need to shit myself out.
And
Absolutely. So fucking funny.
You say Beyblades, and it was one of the top ones. My probably favourite one was the one where we talked about getting robbed while you were butt naked.
Yeah.
And Thomas talked about like
Fucking
how he
love
slept
that,
with no
actually.
clothes on, and then I remember like watching one of the clips, and it was like, I was like, do you not like, what if someone robs you? And you were like, what do you mean? You just couldn't see why this was an issue. And Shay was like, you're too scared of tripping over your
You can't write this shit.
Yeah.
Like, it just sometimes happens. Like.
Back when the content was good.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
And it's just whenever you get that wee giddiness too. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and everything's just
was like,
flowing.
Everything's just flowing.
How do you get into that zone?
Exactly.
Mm.
Take us back. But here, I genuinely think, like, we're talking about it and we're joking about it. I genuinely do think, like, we started this podcast off when we were talking about, like, starting it off and, like, why we started it and all. I genuinely think that's mad. Like, when you look back in 4 years of, like, not doing the podcast, we've done this maybe for coming up in 3 years now, like.
2.5.
Yeah, 2.5, 3 years. But I genuinely do think that's mad. Like, to go from, like, three fellas who vaguely knew each other to literally, like, in less than a year, you'll be on my wedding. Like, it's crazy. Like.
Oh no, Northern Ireland superstars
That's it. Like,
on the rise.
if anything.
Hope you have good security at your wedding.
Exactly.
Up the rise.
Yeah.
You. We didn't mention we're going to be doing 2 podcasts a week now.
Yeah.
We should have said this at the start because everyone's definitely stopped listening at this stage. So, as we said,
We just love doing content
we
so
first
much.
started doing well at the start of the podcast when we were talking about current events and what was happening. So we're going back to doing that. So that's going to be one episode we're going to do every week, and then we're going to just do your sort of general topics and shit. So
We're definitely loving people sending in questions, and I think I want to keep up the anonymous question stuff as well.
yeah.
And help it fuel some podcasts. Like, at the end of the day, we're not just doing this for us, we're doing it for actually people do listen to this podcast, contrary to popular belief, and it would be nice. But yeah, the current affairs one would be cool.
Yeah.
So yes, that's the big news.
Big.
We thought about a Patreon, and then we thought, you know what,
who's going to pay for that?
who's
shit?
going to pay for that? Like? So
That'd be
We're hard on ourselves.
instead, we're just going to double the
We're doing it
workload.
for free.
Someone
because it's
people
just
have asked us to
appreciate
do a
our
fucking
listens,
Patreon, like.
Yeah.
listenership much.
Yeah, but we just love people so much. So.
Yeah.
Don't want to be.
We wouldn't make
charging
you
these
pay for it,
money.
like,
We're
fuck
too
that.
sound. Like, who the fuck
Exactly.
charges people for podcasts?
Scumbags.
Scummy for what? But anyway, yeah, that's the big news. We'll maybe put in something at the start. You know what we'll do? I'll make a soundbite for you to put in at the start. Be like, oh, like, I can't believe that's news.
What the fuck's going on right now?
I can't believe we've said that. Like, you put this in at the start, so then people listen on to the very end. Like,
Should have done it at the start.
you know what we'll do, right?
We'll just re-record this.
I'll say our big announcement is we're going to record 2 podcasts we're going to release 2 podcasts every week, and that's our big announcement. Bleep that out, put it in at the start, so then people are like, God, I have to listen to the very end.
And then just skip to the end. It's
Here,
like,
this is what the 100th episode's all about, letting people see what the behind the scenes is about.
If you've actually listened this far, thanks so much.
Yeah.
You're an OG.
an hour and 41 minutes, holy fuck.
And
This is
thanks
our
to everyone
longest
who's
podcast
listened
ever.
over the 100 episodes.
Mad.
Love you lots.
Love you, and yeah, enjoy the two weekly
More
episodes.
content,
Here's
more
to
banter, more vibes.
100 more.
More bang for your buck.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.